Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. That's not my problem or priority. So this is one of my favorite stories to think about when I want to give myself some satisfaction all over again. At the time this took place I worked by filling BTO orders for a smallish tech company. I would receive orders from a gal we'll call J in order processing and I would fill them. Simple. However, problems would arise when I needed certain things from J to happen before I could pull hardware. My orders were for demonstration and not sold hardware, so I was the red-headed stepchild. J also has a tendency to be quite the bitch from time to time, so asking her for anything was generally not a fun task. I had an order I was under the gun on and needed the hardware ASAP. I walked into her office and pleaded my case and she snapped, "I'm not doing that right now. That's not my problem or priority." Another one of our co-workers was sitting there slack-jawed with a look that said she couldn't believe she just talked to me that way. I was rather taken back. I understand we're all under pressure, but nevertheless, I was pissed. I calmly respond, "If you get the chance, can you please step the order through?" And walked out. Cue my plan for petty revenge. You see, Jay needs things from me at the last minute quite frequently. I'm happy to oblige most of the time, we're all in this together. So I bided my time. Not 2 weeks later she comes tromping to the back while I'm in the middle of multiple orders. She quickly says she needs me to prep a last-minute order and how I need to handle it, blah blah blah. I pulled the most Grinch-like smile I could muster, turned to her, looked her right in the eyes and stated, "I'm not doing that right now. That's not my problem or priority." Dear reader, she turned beet fucking red. She spun in her spot and with her back to me started immediately muttering under her breath about all the things she does for me, yada yada. With my point made I smugly agreed to help. Still had problems with her after, she is a bitch after all. But she was never disrespectful like that again. Story 2. Revenge is a dish best served sparkly. I, 35F, have 4 brothers. T, 6 years older than me, R, 5 years older than me, M, 1 year younger, N, 11 years younger. This story is about R. I grew up with T and R. M and N are step-brothers who came along later. As siblings do, T, R, and I constantly fought. It was mostly a them vs me type of thing. Once, when I was around 11, R did something that really ticked me off. I think he might have been trying to give me a swirly, but I really don't remember. Cue petty revenge. He always went out with his friends on Friday nights. This was back when going to the mall was the thing to do. I was quite a bit younger, so on this particular Friday night I was at home, marinating in pettiness. As many little girls are, I was into arts and crafts and had a large supply of those cheap art kits. One of them came with glitter. It's a really long, unrelated story, but T and R's room was in the basement. The basement was unfinished, and my little craft area was down there too. So I did what any petty little sister would do, I dumped every last piece of glitter from my cheap art kits between R's sheets. He had just made his bed with fresh sheets earlier that afternoon. I carefully pulled the covers back up and made sure they looked undisturbed. R gets home rather late and says he's going to bed. His room is in the unfinished basement, so he has to turn the light off at the top of the basement stairs and then go down to his room to get in bed. He suspected nothing. The next morning, I am waiting in the living room for him to come upstairs. Mom is in the kitchen making breakfast. He emerges looking like he spent the entire night rolling around with a stripper. Completely covered in glitter. It's everywhere. Head to toe and flaking off everywhere as he walked. When I heard him hollering in the bathroom, I realized he had finally realized what had happened. Mom, of course, runs over to see what's going on as R is coming out of the bathroom with a murderous look on his face. Mom sees him. Stops. Covers her mouth with her hand. And snorts. Her face is almost as red as R's, but she's trying not to laugh. As she was fighting to keep a smile off her face, She grounded me and I had to wash RS sheets for him. He kept finding glitter on himself for the next week. Worth it. Story 3. Use my makeup fine by me. Enjoy pink eye. Background, my 21F roommate, 19F, and I share a bathroom. It's pretty big, it has 2 sinks, there's enough space for both of us to literally live in there. So I do my makeup at my sink. She also has friends over every weekend. I'm fine with it, they're not too loud and they leave to go to bars pretty quickly, everything's great. Here's the story, I got pink eye a few months ago, and since I do my makeup every day I had to throw away all of my eye makeup. It broke my heart, but I missed my eyeliner. I noticed it a few weeks ago and meant to throw it out but just haven't yet. Cut to this past weekend, my roommate had friends over, and one of them used my makeup. That's cool, whatever. Except for the fact that they dug into one of my shades in a $200 palette. I was pretty upset, but then I realized that the eyeliner of mine that they used was the one I had forgotten to throw away. I don't know which of them used it, but if pink eye stays on things like that then I might pretty soon. Story 4. I called Macy's customer service to be petty over $6 of leftover debt and got them to waive it. I think this still counts. I cannot stand the pay your full balance that then turns into 5 more payments. It's just a way to slowly milk you out of more money under the guise of debt. Clinics love doing that shit too, but that's off topic. Point 1 thing worth pointing out is that I pay for legal assistance through my employee benefits, so I have a notable safety net for stupid shit like this even if I fuck up beyond my wildest dreams and talk myself into trouble. I wouldn't pay a dime to ask for legal help in a case like this, if it came down to it. I bought a $400 ring for this girl, who I'm also no longer dating. Financed it for the upfront discount. Paid $100 the first month, paid the rest the month after. I select pay full balance to be done with it. The last couple of days, roughly a month after my final payment, I start getting 5 emails a day from Macy's, reminding me that I still owe them $6. Nah, pretty sure I clicked to pay everything I owe you. The number of emails in and of itself makes me suspect it's definitely a last-ditch effort to squeeze a little more out of me through intimidation and fear of debt. Sure, I know it's because of the accrued interest that rolled over, and therefore technically legit. Tough shit. Why? Because they could calculate it and add it to my total, then I'd be more likely to say fuck it and pay it along with everything else. Instead they wanna send me 5 emails a day begging me for $6 like a crackhead outside of a gas station. Now I'm interested. I call, because I'm bored on a Saturday morning. I eventually get to the right person. I pretty much tell them that within 20 minutes of the phone call this issue will probably have cost them more than $6, and that if they're as serious as the emails suggest then they can just take it to collections and cut the bullshit. Obviously they waived it. Of course they aren't going to move forward over $6. But I killed 30 minutes of boredom, saved $6, and got the small satisfaction of saying no to these business practices that are frankly just trashy. How else to put it? So, kind of a fun stupid story, thought I'd share. Cheers. Story 5. Annoying return policy lose a sale. A few years ago my fiancé and I moved into a house together. I started buying cordless tools that all use the same battery, because who needs 8 incompatible batteries that are $50 or more each? One thing we could really use but kept putting off since it wasn't an immediate need was a chainsaw. For my birthday this year my parents who live in another state decided to buy us one. They bought it online and had it shipped to me. There was a miscommunication and they bought a Dual 20V that came without the battery and charger since it's generally cheaper and they thought that was what I was already using. It's a nice saw and I didn't want to make a fuss to my parents about it, so I went to Home Depot, where they bought it to swap it for one with the battery and I would just pay the $1.90 plus tax difference. Apparently their return policy is that you have to have the email with the order number. I could understand that if I wanted a true refund, I wanted store credit that I was going to immediately use. I left and had the conversation with my dad that I was trying to avoid. I told him the situation, he agreed it was ridiculous, and sent me the email. I went back. The same lady was at the return counter, had a bit of snark when she asked if I had the email. I told her I did, then she asked if I wanted store credit or have it back on the card. The petty gears in my head turned and I said to put the money back on the card. I went out to the parking lot, got back on the phone with my dad. Now I'm getting the cobalt that matches what I already have, and not only that, but the package with the battery and charger was on sale for the same price as the saw only, and it was $10 less than the Dualt. Story 6. What goes up must come down. I live in a high-rise apartment. The elevators here are always super busy, and recently due to temporary maintenance, very slow. Depending on the time of day, it's normal to have to wait around for a while when you call one. This is part of the reason why I normally like walking my dogs during off-peak early morning/late night hours, before it gets really active. My dogs are both rescues who are being trained, and while they're not afraid of people, their natural reaction is to be anxious/wary. At least for the moment, the pups and I prefer to have the elevator to ourselves if we can help it. Recently, however, I've coincidentally shared the elevator a couple of times with this new kid that I've come to really dislike. Most kids here have had the good sense to ask if a dog can be approached first, but this one? He's something else. He seems to have a vested interest in heckling any pet he sees. He leers, snaps his fingers at them, and just generally disrespects personal space. I've asked the kid politely not to do any of this because it makes my dogs feel uncomfortable, but he's straight up ignored it all. Normally, I give young kids the benefit of the doubt. I feel it's the parents' job first to educate them about what's appropriate, but not only does this kid look like he's old enough to at least have developed a tiny sense of judgment, it's also clear that he just wants to provoke the pups for the sake of it. So here I am on way up one night. I've had a long day, I'm cold, it's late, and I just want to get home. I have a long ride up as I live close to the top, but joy oh joy, the elevator makes a stop and guess who walks in? As soon as he steps inside, he presses a button for a floor above mine, spots my dog in the corner, and gives me the look of glee again. But today was not the day I was going to have any of his shit. Today, I was actually going to return some in kind. Most people don't know this here, but in these elevators, you can cancel a button you've pressed by double tapping it. When his attention wasn't directly on me, I cancelled his selection. Then, I pressed a bunch of buttons at the bottom which would end with sending him all the way down to the lowest basement. As I was stepping out on my floor watching the doors close behind me, the petty part of me was already basking in the schadenfreude, knowing that the smug little shit was expecting to go just a little further up, but was now going to unexpectedly reverse course and be unable to stop it. Enjoy the slow ride dozens and dozens of floors down, dickhead. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.